Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekends with Wisdom. Today we have again Dr. Aravinda Ravji, who is joining us and will be continuing his session on Sringara Shatakam. And to those who could not attend yesterday, Sringara Shatakam is one of the three Shatakams by Bhartrihari. While his Niti-Shatakam focuses on Dharma and Artha, Sringara Shatakam focuses on Kama and how Kama has to be pursued within the confines of Dharma so that it ultimately leads to Chitta Shuddhi and Vairagyam, and he then takes the Vairagyam in the Vairagya Shatakam. So with this brief background, let me begin with a small prayer and then allow Dr. Aravinda ji to take over. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagini Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Thank you again, Aravinda ji, for agreeing for this session. So without further ado, the floor is yours. Please start the session.
Om Shuklam Bharataram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om. Continue the talk which we left yesterday. Yesterday I was talking about the Sringara Shatakam. Sringara Shataka, as I explained, it is not something which should be seen as a sort of anomaly. It is something within the framework of our Dharma. Dharma means the overall Dharma includes four aspects, that is Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. All four are also called Dharma. So in that framework, Kama is something which cannot be eschewed by the human being. So Kama has to be accepted by all religions, all texts on say human conduct. All texts means all scriptures. All scriptures have to accommodate Dharma somewhere, Kama somewhere. So that is what we see. And in our tradition also, what is said is, for some people who are mumutshus right from the beginning, who are seekers of jnana right from the beginning, so they can renounce and then they can go to the forest. But not all people can go. Not only that, the world activity of the world has to go on. So then we have to regulate. We have to regulate this Kama. So that is the reason why our Dharma Shastras, they also said how a person has to go about and what should be the restrictions, etc. And there are so many social norms. And in spite of all the social norms, there are always some transgressions and whatnot. So Bhartrihari is now focusing on the common man. People like Shankaracharya in their Prakarana Granthas, their focus is on the mumukshu. Here, the focus is on the common man. How a common man has to lead a very balanced life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, these three have to be balanced in such a way that they do not become a sort of obstacle in his pursuit of jnana. So it has to give Chitta Shuddhi, pursuit of Artha and Kama, they have to give Chitta Shuddhi. So that is the reason why in the pursuit of Artha, we are told about the Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is one thing which gives Chitta Shuddhi while pursuing your Artha. And similarly, here also Kama, the texts like Bhartrihari Sringara Shatakam, and also not only Bhartrihari Sringara Shatakam, even there are certain Vedanta texts like, for example, Shankaracharya's Bhajagovindam also, you find certain slokas which are almost similar to the slokas in Bhartrihari. So from that point of view, we have to see that Bhartrihari is trying to give a sort of mature understanding to the human being about how Kama has to be followed in one's life. So yesterday we I read a few slokas up to sloka number 50. So today from the remaining 50 slokas, I will pick up a few slokas and then I will try to explain and then comment on them. So I will come to one sloka, that is 51, sloka number 51. where he is warning his friend. Oh, my dear friend, keep away. He is saying, apasara sakhe, durat. He says, oh, my dear friend, keep away, be far away. From whom? Asmat kataksha vishanalat, prakriti vishamad, yoshit sarpad, vilasa phanabhutah. We see that the poets, they compare anything with anything else. So we are now seeing, yesterday also we saw the poet comparing the woman's body, her woman, with a river which will take you and drown you in the ocean of samsara. So now he is comparing the woman with a snake. And what type of snake? It spits venom. It actually is not spits venom, I should not say. It releases venom from its very eyes. Kataksha Vishanalat. Kataksha Vishanalat. Normally, the poison is released through the fangs, but here it is released through the eyes itself. The very glances, the very looks are like that. Asmat Kataksha Vishanalat, Prakriti Vishamat. By nature, they are crooked. And Yoshit Sarpat, Vilasa Pranabhrata. So many Vilasa means so many styles, and then the looks are, the very appearance is so stylish. Then Itarapanina, Dashtasyakya Chikitsutam Aushadhaihi. If a person is if a person is bitten by any other snake, it is possible for cure. You can go to somebody who knows the particular medicine, or who can chant certain mantras. Of course, there are also some mantras which say that people say that they do cure a person from this snake bite. Itarapanina dashtasyakya chikitsutam aushadhaihi. Chatura vanita bhogi grastam. But if it is a vanita bhogi, bhogi means, bhoga means a hood of a serpent. Bhogi means that which has a hood, that is a serpent. Vanita bhogi is a serpent called woman. If you are hit or bitten by the serpent called woman, then tyajantihi mantrinaha. Tyajantihi mantrinaha. Mantri is somebody who can chant a mantra and then see that the snake bite, the poison goes away. But all those people also, not only the doctors, but also those people who can chant mantras, they hold their hands up. They cannot help. The doctors also, they do give up. So which means here also, you see, the looks are so dangerous. That is what he says. So that, as I said yesterday, we saw yesterday, let me say, it should be, the criticism should not only be applied to the woman, but also to the man, because man's looks may be equally hitting the woman. So because Bhartrihari lived in an age which was basically male dominated, and probably more men pursued these spiritual pursuits. So probably that is the reason why he was talking about how a woman can be an obstacle. Now, of course, men, women, everybody, even in olden days, there were many enlightened women, we were recalling yesterday. So let us see. We can also see another shloka, shloka number 52 also. In this shloka, in this verse, Bhartrihari compares a woman to a hook thrown into the water thrown into a pond by a fisherman. A fisherman puts a sort of piece, a flesh piece to the hook, and then throws it into the water. That hook and the sinker, they all go. And then the other fish get caught. Other fish goes there and it bites that flesh which is attached to the hook, and then it gets hooked. So now, who is the fisherman? The fisherman is Manmatha. Manmatha, we know that god of love. So this fisherman, he catches martyas, he catches people like that. So let us see the shloka. Vistaritam makara ketana dhivarena. Makara ketana. Makara ketana is another name for Manmatha. Makara is crocodile and ketana is flag. So Makara Dhvaja is another name for Manmatha. Makara Dhvaja, why? We do not know, but nowadays people say that Makara is an aphrodisiac. The flesh or some parts of Makara, they are used as aphrodisiacs. So that is the reason probably why our people also said Makara Dhvaja is that. Makara ketana dhivarena. Dhivara is a fisherman. So Vistaritam, that net has been not net, that hook, line, and sinker, that they have been thrown into, they have been hurled into the water, along with that bait. And that bait is that woman. Sri Sangitam Badishamatra Bhavam Burashav. Bhavam Burashav. Where has he thrown? Bhavam Burasi. Bhava means getting born again and again and getting become again the birth and the cycle of death and birth and death goes on and on and on. This is the ocean of samsara. Bhava, Amburasi. Amburasi is ocean. Bhava is puttuka, that is birth. Birth means death also. So in this, who is caught? All the martyas, they are get caught. Martya. Every word is so significant in many of these shlokas. Martya is a mortal. Martya, mortal, also cognate. So this martya, the fellow is attracted by the flesh which is there attached to that bait. Adharamisha lola martyaha. Adharamisha lola martyaha. Now in the case of woman, what is the bait? Adharamisham. That is, he wants to bite the lip of the woman for the nectar. And then he gets caught by that. And then Matsya Nikrushya. And that Dhivara, that fisherman, he pulls out all those people. And then he Pachati Anuraga Vanhav. He cooks them. All of us are cooked by Manmatha. And in what is that fire? Fire called Raga. Raga is attachment, bondage. So we are just cooked in that fire called bondage. And then Martya, because we are all Martyas, again we take birth and again die, again take birth, etc. It goes on like that. So it is a woman is a bait. Another metaphor is here in this metaphor, a woman is compared to a woman's body is compared to a forest. Kamini Kaya Kantare. Usually many people they quote this shloka, rather well-known shloka. Kamini Kaya Kantare. Kamini is a voluptuous woman, not merely a lady. Kamini, Kama Pradayini, that is a voluptuous lady, woman. Kaya Kantare. Kaya is a body, Kantara is a forest. In that forest, in the forest, we also see hillocks and mountains. So there are huge mountains are there. Kucha Parvata Durgame, the two mountains which are the breasts which are compared to that. Ma Sanchara Manahpantha, oh mind, do not wander there. The poet is warning the mind, oh mind, do not wander there. You will get looted, you will get robbed there. By whom? By the same Manmatha, who is the Taskara. Taskara is a robber. Taskara, Stena, there are two words. Stena is somebody who is a thief. Taskara is somebody who is a robber. Thief may take away your property when you are not there. Robber straight away comes and robs us. So he is a robber. Ma Sanchara Manahpantha Tatraste Smarataskarha. He will loot and make us not only loot, Mana Sarvasva Maharishyati, the commentator writes, he takes away what all respect we have, Mana Sarvasvam, what all respect we have, all that is taken away, is looted by this robber called Manmatha. So this Kamini Garhanam, this section relating to this censuring women, it goes on in this poem. Another shloka also, for example, 55. Oh, sorry, let's put it in the silent mode. Then he says, he talks about the five senses, how these five senses, they pull a man into this ocean. This ocean, you see this, for example, the ear says, oh, there's such a beautiful song. She is singing so beautifully. Ihahi madhuram geetam. Nruttametat. Oh, she is dancing so well. And rasoyam, rasaha. Rasa is the juice. Rasoyam, ayam rasaha is referring to that rasaha adharamrutam. So he is referring to the nectar from the mouth, from the lip. Rasoyam. Spurati parimalosau. Parimala. Women, they are also supposed to be having some parimala around them. That is fragrance around them. When they come in fact, we can smell that fragrance. So spurati parimalosau sparshayesha stanana. Oh, this is that gentle, not gentle, it is such sparsha. Sparsha means that touch, the feeling of touch of stanana, touching the breast. So that is what it totally trounces a person. Iti hata paramarthaihi indriyaihi pramyamanaha. So iti hata paramarthaihi. All these indriyas, they have lost their higher goal. Hata paramarthaihi indriyaihi. Indriya is our sense organs. Hata paramartha means this paramartha, the higher goal is lost. And then you are being whirled about, you are being moved about. Brahmyamanaha. Brahmyamanaha means you are being rotated, you are being whirled about around various sense attractions of this woman. And swahita karana dhurtaihi indriyaihi. That is, these indriyas, they are interested in themselves. They are interested in pleasing themselves. All these indriya sense organs, unless they are turned inward, all the indriyas, they are focused outside. As Kathopanishad says, Paranchi khani vetruna swayambhu, he says. There is a mantra which says, Swayambhu, the Lord, has created the indriyas in such a way that they are always moving outward. And some dhira, kashid dhira, some one strong-minded person, he turns them inside and looks inside, and then he can know the truth. So that is what mantra Kathopanishad says. So here he says, Swahita karanaihi dhurtaihi. These are all dhurta. Dhurta means swindlers. They are all cheaters or swindlers or fraudsters. These are fraudsters who are actually selfish. They are fulfilling their own selfish pursuits, and they have forgotten the higher goal. Panchavihi, Dhurtai, Panchavihi, Vanchitosmi. I am Vanchita. Vanchitosmi means I have been cheated by my Indriyas, which have put me into a ditch. So, Indriyas, they are the, in fact, in Vedantic literature, they are also compared to the horses, which have to be controlled well. If the horses are not controlled well, they will drag us somewhere and put you in some ditch. So that is a standard metaphor there. But here they are also they are compared with some dhurta. Dhurta means cheats, fraudsters who guide us, who actually misguide us. So that is how it goes on. Another shloka also. No, there are a few shlokas which are dedicated to, or which talk about the institution of prostitution in those days. Prostitution, as we now understand, is slightly different, and the prostitution in olden days was different. Prostitution in olden days was not something like what we call the one-night stand, not like that. They were actually, there were certain families. There we even say till about 50, 60 years ago, or 50 years ago also, there used to be some families, lady families who had specialized in dance and music, etc. So these people, in all societies, not only in Indian society, prostitution was something which was accepted in all societies. And in India also, particularly during that Prabandha period. Prabandha period means when the society was still enjoying some peace, when these invasions had not yet started. So at that time only various Sringara texts, they have come in either in Sanskrit language, Telugu literature, of course, later period, because we in down south, we were not exposed to this for a much longer time. Initially, the first brunt was taken in Afghanistan, Kashmir, etc., and then Rajasthan. So Rajasthan bore the brunt. Rajasthan and Punjab, they bore the brunt. Only much later, we come to south. So that is the reason why all the Alankara Shastra, all our Alankara Shastra, most of Alankara Shastra originated in Kashmir. And that was prior to 10th century, around 10th century or so. After that, we see some texts, Sringara, talking about Sringara, even in, say, 11th century, 12th century in North India. Right, but in down south, we had texts relating to Sringara, even up to 15th, 16th centuries, because right up to that time, people were enjoying some peace in society. So at that time, so naturally, there was an institution. There was an institution called this Panyastri, actually somewhat like a kept woman. All these kings, etc. It was actually a matter of pride. It was a matter of pride for them to have certain people. So that is how Bhartrihari also dedicates a few slokas to them and warns the person, warns the Gruhastha, don't go near them, he says, because Jatyandhaya cha durmukhaya jara jirnakhilangaya cha. And these are women who sell their bodies to anybody. They may be kept women, but then even there, they can sell their bodies to Jatyandhaya, to somebody who is born blind, or Durmukhaya, somebody with a foul mouth. It can be foul mouth in both ways, that is a foul-mouthed person, or somebody who is literally having a bad smell of this mouth smell, foul smell from the mouth. Then Jarajirnaya, decrepit age, Jarajirna, that is decrepit age. Then rustic, Gramina. Gramina doesn't mean a villager. Gramina means somebody who is totally rustic person. Then Galat Kushtabhibhutaya. somebody even with some disease, somebody with some disease, Yachantishu Manoharam Nijavapur Lakshmi Lavasthaya. And just for a few, for a few rupees or dollars, as whatever it is, Lakshmi Lava. Lava means a lesha. For little, for some paltry money, they are selling away their bodies. Pandyastriishu, Viveka Kalpa Latika Shastriishu. They are the Shastra. Shastra means a weapon, or they are like scissors which cut off the Viveka Kalpalatika. Viveka Kalpalatika. Viveka, our sense of discrimination, our sense of discerning what is right and what is wrong, is Viveka. Viveka is a very common word in Vedanta text. Viveka comes from a root called Vichir Prathak Bhave. That is, you are distinguishing what is right and distinguishing between right and wrong. You are checking what is right and what is wrong. So that Viveka Chudamani also the same meaning. So Viveka is that discriminating what is right and what is wrong. So this Viveka is like a Kalpalata. Viveka is something which gives you what all you want in anything, in any pursuit of life. That Viveka is needed. If that Viveka is there, we were on the right path. So that Viveka is like a Kalpalata which gives you what all you desire in a proper manner. But then this Viveka Lata, Kalpalata is cut off by this Panyastri, by this woman, if at all somebody falls into their, say, trap or falls into their fold, let us say. And this Veshya is also compared to a blazing fire. In another shloka, she is compared to a blazing fire. What type of fire? For example, in Yajna, we see fire is there. And into that fire, we pour some ahutis. And in this Veshya, who is also a fire, Madana Jwala, this blaming, what is this? Not blaming, this blazing fire called woman. So this is Madana Jwala. This is Manmatha Jwala. This is the fire of Manmatha. And Rupendhana Samayadhita. And it is what is the Indhanam? Indhanam is that firewood. What is the Indhanam? Her own Rupam. Her own Rupam is the Indhanam. And what are we putting ahuti as ahutis? Kamibihi yatra huyante, kamibiri yatra huyante, yavanani dhananicha. Kamibihi, Kami is the person who goes to her, goes to that Veshya. Yatra huyante, huyante means offered. Havanam, we know, Havan is we are offering something into the fire. Huyante, yavanani dhananicha. These fellows are also giving they are spending away their youth and also their dhanam. Yavanani dhananisha. They are spending away their yavanam and also dhanam. And here, if you see that Madana Jwala also, for that Madana Jwala, what is the Indhanam, her own Rupam. And that Rupam also is dwindling. When you are when there is something that Indhanam is there, it is only then that fire that blazes. That Indhanam is her own Rupam. And that the Indhanam is gradually getting depleted. Naturally, after some time, the Rupam also, it goes away. So then it is no longer that blazing fire. So that is also hinted here, that Kamini, that woman also is losing her Indhanam and whatever that Madana Jwala, all that capacity she is losing. And this visitor also, this fellow is also exhausting his youth and also his money in that fire. Then this is also here also the metaphor of Yajna. Yajna metaphor is taken. And in another shloka also, for example, this Kamini, where is described here, Kaschumbati Kulapurusho. Then he is talking about again about a woman, Veshya woman. How can any gentleman go and touch them at all? He says. How can anybody who is a Kulapurusha? Kulapurusha means somebody who is born in a proper family, in a cultured or a civilized family, any respectable person or a man of honor. How can he go and kiss Adhara Pallavam, Veshyadhara Pallavam, Manogyam? Even if it is so, so Manognyam, it is so beautiful. That Pallavam, Adhara Pallavam is that the lip, which is like a Pallavam. Pallavam is something like it is a fresh shoot of any fresh shoot. It is so fresh. The lips looks so fresh. The trouble with the Sringara Shatakam is it is very difficult to translate many of the words. Kulapurusho Veshyadhara Pallavam Manogyamapi, though it is so attractive and beautiful. How can anybody go and kiss? Why? Because that is something like a spittoon. Veshyadhara Pallavam. It is okay, it may look so nice, but it is actually a spittoon which was used by so many people. And who are the people who use this spittoon? We know the spittoon. In Hyderabad also we had this all this Nawabi culture. When we first, so lot many years ago, when I first came to Hyderabad, we were told about what is called Ugaldan. Ugaldan. All these Nawabs, they used to have some Ugaldan, this spittoon by their side, and then suppose the man gets, because they used to continuously take a pan and then they used to spit pan. Every time you want to spit pan, you can't go out. So you have to spit into that spittoon. And what is this? Who are the people who have used this spittoon called a woman's lip? Chara, bhata, chora, chetaka. Chara is, you know who is Chara? Chara is a spice, the people who move about. So all these spice who move about, that secret agent, let us say, spice. Bhata is Raja Bhata. Modern equivalent maybe a cop. The spice, the cops, Chora. On the other hand, the Chora, thief also comes there. Thief comes and brings money. Maybe Bhata may not give money, or spy may not give money, but so this Chora gives money. Chetaka is a pimp. Then Vita is a customer. And Nata also means an actor. All these people, Nata, Natya, in olden days, Natas, Nartaki, they did not enjoy very, very high position. Of course, they enjoyed respectability, maybe depending on their personal position. But then, Nata, Vita, Gayaka, Ganika, all these things, they were all put on one platform, not very highly respectable. So all these people, Chara, Bhatta, Chora, all these people, they are going and sucking the same lip, and then that lip is like a spittoon for all these people. And Nishtivana Sharava means that spittoon. Nishtivana means spitting. So in this way, again, some more, a few more verses are there about this prostitution. I will leave them. Now we come to another section called Virakta Paddhati. Virakta means somebody who has developed dispassion. Suvirakta Paddhati. Virakta Paddhati, how a person who is really got Vairagya, and somebody who is having superficial Vairagya. Both things he shows here. Somebody who has Vairagya, who is firm in Vairagya, and somebody who has some superficial Vairagya. Suvirakta is somebody who has firm Vairagyam, dispassionate. Vairagyam doesn't mean again, Vairagya, you are not getting attached to a thing. Vigataha ragaha, viragaha. That is, vigataha ragaha means your attachment is not there. You may be having that thing, but you are not attached to that. Even without that, you can survive. Suppose I am attached to a thing. If I am so attached to a thing, without that I cannot live. But here, when there is no attachment, if it is there, okay, you have it. If it is not there, okay, fine. So that is Vairagya. Vairagya is not having attachment. Not that you have to throw away all your possessions and whatnot. It's not like that. Vairagya doesn't expect that. Particularly for a Grihastha, for a sannyasi, it expects it, but not for a Grihastha. So here, Virakta, how does he enjoy? You see, not enjoy, how does he control himself? Dhanyastayeva dhavalayatalocananam tarunya darpa ghana pina payodharanam. He says, only they are dhanya, only they are the blessed people. Dhanyaha taeva, that means te eva dhanya, only they are the blessed people. Who? When they see these women, dhavalayatalocananam, all this wide-eyed beauty, dhavala ayata, ayata means wide eyes. Lochananam, Tarunya Darpa Ghana Pina Payodharanam, who are in the pride of youth, Tarunya Darpa, the pride of youth, and then with their Ghana Pina Payodhara, Ghana means huge, Pina means strong, that is firm breasts. Say the people, women with such a huge firm breasts, and Shamodaropari Lasat Trivalilatanam. But they are also having slender waists. And on that slender waist, this trivali, all these Sringara Kavyas, they describe this trivali, these three folds on the stomach. Folds not fat folds, but only lines. Only lines, they are called trivali. They have three lines. That shows how slender that lady is. Trivali latanam dushtva akrutim. On seeing them, on seeing their form, whose minds do not waver, whose minds do not Vikrutimedi manona esham. Vikruti means vikara. Vikara means they immediately get transformed, they immediately get changed, they immediately get attracted. So only those who don't get attracted to them, only they are dhanyas, they are the blessed people. So these are the people who are fit for some higher pursuits, capable of higher pursuits. So it goes on like that. And also another shloka for Virakta. What is that? So he is warning this Kandarpa. Kandarpa is another name for Manmata. So Virakta, a person who has got Vairagya, is called Virakta. So this Virakta is warning that Manmata. Another name for Manmata is Kandarpa. Yesterday also we got this name, Kandarpa. Kutsitaha Darpaha Kandarpaha. And when Manmata is possessing us, then we have all pride. Kutsitaha Darpaha means all false pride. We have got all undeserved pride. I feel I am equal to somebody who is as charming as a Bond or somebody, and then as Bond of course signifies all that, not only macho but also all that articulation and whatnot. So Ray Kandarpa, he says, Ray Manmata, Ray Kandarpa, don't waste your time on me. You can't insult me, you can't attract me anymore, or you can't affect me any longer. Ray Kandarpa, Karam Kadarthayasi. Kim Kodanda Tankaritaihi. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you actually giving pain to your own hand? Why you are giving some trouble to your own hand by pulling your bowstring and then releasing weapons on me? It is a waste of time. Then Re Kokila. Re is again addressing Kokila, that is cuckoo bird. Komalai Kalaravaihi. Kimva Vthajalpasi. Why waste your sweet song on me? Komalaihi Kalaravaihi. That Kalarava means Avyakta Madhura, all that music and then that beautiful song, etc. Why are you wasting on me? I am no longer interested in that. Mugdhe Snigdha Vidagdha Mugdha Madhurai Lolai Katakshairalam. Hey Mugdhe, oh my dear lady. He is telling that young woman, oh my dear young woman, all your Lolai Katakshai, all your crossword, not crossword, the cross glances, let us say, like all those cross glances on me, they are going to be wasted. They are of no use. Chetaschum, why? Chetaschumbita Chandrachuda Charana Dhyanamrutam Vartate. See, Chetaschumbita Chandrachuda Charana. Chandrachuda is, who is that Chandrachuda? Chandra is moon and the Chuda is head, that not head, that is hair tuft. And Shiva is the man who is having that crescent moon on his tuft. So Chandrachuda is Shiva. And Shiva, incidentally, is also the person who controls the Kama, who also, Chandra also is a symbol for mind. Chandrama Manaso Jataha, Chakshos Suryo Jayata. So Chandra represents mind in our literature. Not only in our literature, even in our Vedanta texts. Chandra, moon, is the person who influences the mind. So that means the mind is kept under control, Kama is kept under control. So now my mind is now fixed on the feet of the Chandrachuda, the Charana Dhyanamrutam. So my mind is now, it has now tasted Dhyanamrutam Vartate, Chumbita means tasted. Chumbita not only means tasted. Chumbita Dhyanamrutam means I have tasted the Dhyanamrutam. I have tasted the nectar of devotion. Dhyanamrutam is the nectar of devotion. I have tasted the nectar of devotion on the feet of Lord Shiva. So now all your efforts, they are a waste. So he warns them, in vain you are troubling yourself. Then again, another shloka about Virakta. So he is also telling, hey, Viramata Buddha, oh my dear friends, all learned friends, Buddha means a wise person. Buddha is a wise person or a learned person. Hey Buddha, Yoshit Sangat Sukhat Kshanabhangurat. This is merely Kshanabhangura. It is a totally transient, momentary, very ephemeral type of pleasure. Stop pursuing such momentary pleasures. Kuruta Karuna Maitri Prajna Vadhujana Sangamam. You make friends with other people like Karuna. Karuna also is a feminine gender. Maitri, again feminine gender. Prajna, again a feminine gender. In Sanskrit, if you see the words and their gender, it is also very, very interesting. Particularly if you see Bhagavata, if you read Bhagavata and read the names of Daksha's daughters, all the names are so significant. You can just go through that Daksha's daughters and how they are given in marriage and who are their children again. So all the names are so significant. And I really wonder whether the people who assigned this, who gender to these words, they were aware of all these things, and then there is a philosophy behind assigning this gender also to various names, to various words. Kuruta Karuna. Karuna is compassion. Karuna. Maitri. Maitri is normal meaning is just a friendship or very affable character. Being very, very affable, friendly to all the people. Maitri is Punya Krutsu Mitrata. That is Maitri not with all types of people, but only with people, people who are doing some Punya Karma. Punya Krutsu Mitrata, writes commentator. Punya Krut is somebody who is on the right path. You are friendly with the right person. And Maitri, Karuna, Mudito, Pekshanam, Bhartrihari, this sutra of Patanjali also is there. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya Vishayanam, Bhavanataha, Chitta Prasadanam. So how one has to cultivate Chitta Prasadam? He says, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. Maitri, with whom Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya. Sukha, people who are happy, people who are having plenty. So not for purpose of money or anything like that. People who are Sukha not necessarily out of wealth, who are doing good work, who are good people. Good people usually are mentally also happy. So they may or may not be having wealth, but they are mentally happy. So Maitri with such people. Maitri is Sajjana, Sat people only. Then Maitri, Karuna. Karuna is with Maitri, Sukha, Dukkha. Somebody who is in Dukkha, you have to have some compassion and then you should be helpful to them. So that is Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But here, Maitri, Karuna, Prajna, Vadhujana Sangamam. Prajna is knowledge, pursuit of knowledge. That is, these three are again, these are also women. So you make friends with these women. Leave that Yoshit Sangat, Shanabhangurat. Leave that woman in her physical body. You take these women called Karuna, Maitri, Prajna. And why? Because if you pursue that only, all the charms of that woman are not going to save you, are not going to protect you when you go to hell. That is what he says. Nakalu narake harakrantam ghanastanamandalam. When a person goes to hell, harakrantam ghanastanamandalam nakalu sharanam. So this ghanastanamandalam, this that big bosom, the big bosom is not going to help you. It's not going to be your sharanam. It's not going to be your place of rescue or place of refuge. Athava shroni bimbam ranam manamekalam. Ranam manamekalam means right now that shroni bimbam. Shroni means that waist. Yesterday also we got this description of waist. A woman with a big waist is supposed that is a beauty point in Alankara Shastra. Okay, Shroni Bimbam, and they used to have waist belts where some jingle bells were also there. So whenever the woman walks, the jingling sound will be there. So Shroni Bimbam Ranam Mani Mekalam. Not only ordinary manis, but Mani Mekala. There are also manis there. Some precious gems are also there. So with that Mekala, when a woman is moving around, that place is not going to be your Saranam. When a person goes to hell, that your big bosom, neither the big bosom nor that wide waist, they are not going to be your Saranam. Only this Karuna, Maitri, Prajna, they are going to be your Saranam. So that is how he is telling all these learned friends. He tells, Viramata Buddha, oh my dear learned friends. So then, one more sloka, for example, Yada, yes, there is time. Yada yogabhyasa vyasana krushayoho atmamanasoho avichinna maitri spurati krutinaha. Now he is talking about a situation where the mind and Atma have become friends. This is again typical Vedanta concept. The mind has ceased to be the mind. That is, in Vedanta Shastra, there is a term called Manonasha. Manonasha is where the mind dissolves. That is, the individual ego goes away. The individual ego goes and it goes means it merges in that bigger Atma. The lower self merges in the bigger self. And then I see everything as a manifestation of Brahman. So that is what is the idea there. So yogabhyasa vyasana krishayoho atmamanasoho avichinna maitri. There is such a bond, there is such a friendship. Avichinna means something which is inseparable. That means the Jivatma has become Paramatma, if you want to say that. Or the mind has so totally merged in that Paramatma. The mind is so merged, comfortable, not comfortable. Mind is not having its independent identity. It has merged with that Paramatma. Then, at that stage, then tasya kimu taihi priyanam alapaihi. So, for such a person or for such people, kimu taihi, yeah, plural. For them, priyanam alapaihi kimu. All these women, they come and speak some loving words or loving words. All those words, they don't mean anything to them. Adhara madhubhihi, vaktra vidhubhihi. Adhara madhu means, adhara madhu is that nectar from the lips. They just don't bother for that. Vaktra vidhubhihi, mukha chandra. Vaktra means mukham. Vidhu means Vidhu-Shekara Bharati, Vidhu means Chandra. So Vidhu, Vaktra Vidhu means Mukha Chandra. What is that? Moon-faced woman, let us say. The woman with that face of a shining moon. That is as bright as the moon. So all these things, and also Sanishwasa Amodaihi, that fragrance when she talks, when she comes near, and then when she inhales or when she exhales and talks, there is such fragrance around her. Then Sakucha Kalasha Shlesha Suratai. Kucha Kalasha Aslesha Suratai, or hugging that woman's breasts and also having say union with her. All these things, they just do not mean anything to them. They just do not bother for them. They just do not bother. When the Atma and mind, these two have come together, when there is a bond between these two, all these things, Adhara Madhu, lotus face, and all these things, not lotus face, that moon-like face, all these things, they have no appeal. So the commentator also writes, Atmananda Anubhava Velayam Tesham Ati Tuchataya Pratiyamanatvat. When the man is having that Atmananda Anubhava Vela, when he is enjoying, when he is having that bliss of Brahman, Tesham Ati Tuchataya Pratitamanatvat. All these things, they look so petty. Tucha means very petty. Tuchataya Pratiyamanatvat iti artha. Then again, one last shloka I will read about Virakti. Virakti, then now the image is, when I was ignorant, what he says is, when I was ignorant, the whole world was appearing to me as an Ari-mayam. That is, I used to ogle at every woman, strictly to tell in very simple terms. We are seeing woman's beauty everywhere, wherever it was possible, looking at women only. So when smitten by Ajnana, Yad Asid Ajnanam, when I was ignorant, Smara Timira Sanchara Janitam. Smara Timira, Smara is again another name for Manmatha. Smara is another name. So when this Manmatha was roaming in my mind, and Smara Timira Sanchara Janitam. Timira means that purblind we call, purblindness or night blindness we call. Smara Timira is actually an eye disease, let us say, an eye disease in which you are not able to see things properly. Timira Roga, we say. Timira Roga is an eye disease where one is not able to see things properly. So Smara Timira Sanchara Janitam. This disease due to roaming of Manmatha. The disease due to the pervading pervasion by Manmatha in my mind. So that Ajnanam was there. At that time, Tada Drushtam Narimayam Idam Ashesham Jagaditi. Narimayam, everywhere I used to look at women only. Then Idani Masmakam Patutara Vivekanjana Jusham. Now what has happened to us? Patutara, very powerful. Viveka Anjana Jusham. Viveka is again that discerning, capacity to discern, capacity to know what is right and what is wrong. Viveka Anjana Jusham. Anjana is ointment. So now that Viveka is ointment, that Viveka has now worked as an ointment on us, and we are able to see now. We are able to see properly. Viveka Anjana Jusham, ointment called that Viveka, strong Viveka, that too. Samibhuta Drushtihi. Samibhuta Drushtihi means our vision has been rectified. Drushti is vision. Samibhuta means it has been rectified. Earlier I used to see the world wrongly. Now I am able to see rightly. Idani Asmakam Patutara Vivekanjana Jusham. Now what am I seeing now? I am seeing Brahman everywhere. He says, Samibhuta Drushtihi. Tribhuvanam api Brahma Manute. all the whole universe is looking, is appearing to me as a manifestation of Brahman. Typical Vedanta statement, a strong Vedanta statement. Brahma, Sarvatra Brahma Drushtihi, that is, seeing the whole universe as a manifestation of Brahman, is something which is a statement from Vedanta Shastra only. And Bhartrihari is using it here. Then that is looking at seeing divinity in everything, seeing divinity in every person. That also, that way also we can interpret. Then we'll come to Durvirakta. We'll see, let us see one or two slokas. Durvirakta, how does he behave? So he is a person who is cheating himself and also cheating others. So outwardly he is talking against women. He says, no, don't fall in the trap of women. Swaparapratarako nindatiyo alika pandito yuvati. Alika pandita is a fake pandita. This sloka number 72. This fake pandita, or rather hypocrite, let us say, not fake, hypocrite, let us say, hypocrite pandita. Swaparaprataraka. Swaprataraka, he is also cheating himself and also cheating others. Why? Because he is saying, he is rationalizing his weakness for women. And he says, Yasmat tapasopi phalam swargaha. When you do tapas, and then when you do tapas means all austerities in this life, and then refrain from this, refrain from that, and whatnot. When you do all this tapas, phalam swargaha, swarge picha apsarasaha. Then what are you finding there? There again, you are finding apsarasas there. There are a lot many film songs on this, with the same idea. So after you go there to Swarga also, you find the same women, you have it here. So in that theme is there in several film songs. So that is probably from Bhartrihari. So this person is a fake, not fake, is a person who is advancing this sort of specious logic, is a hypocrite. Then similarly, that is why Bhartrihari says, Tavan mahatvam pandityam, all your mahatvam, all your greatness, all your pandityam, all your scholarship, and all your kulinatvam, your high status and whatnot, and vivekita is your discriminating ability, yavat jvalati na angeshu atah pancheshu pavakaha. All your greatness and scholarship and all these things, they are valid only to the extent that only till that point, when they do not get excited when your indriyas look at a woman. When your indriyas, when your means all of us, it means all of us only. Yavajvalati na angeshu hataha pancheshu pavakaha. In all these five indriyas, as long as that fire of Manmata does not develop, only so long is your knowledge valid, your greatness valid, your highness valid, and your discrimination, vivekata, is valid. But if your indriyas, they start burning, then certainly all those things are not valid. So that is how he makes a statement about virakti. Then we come to another section called Rutu Varnana Paddhati. Rutu Varnana. Rutu is season. Rutu Varnana. I am not very sure why Bhartrihari is doing this Rutu Varnana, because he has devoted about 20 verses on this Rutu Varnana. We know that there are 6 Rutus in our tradition. In the Western tradition, we talk about only 4 Rutus, spring, summer, autumn, winter. But here we talk about 6 Rutus. We say Vasanta Rutu, the first 2 months of the year, that is Chaitra, Vaishakha, then Grishma Rutu, then again Varsha Rutu, then again Sharad Rutu, then again Hemanta just passed, and then we have just entered Shishira Rutu. Shishira is Magha and Phalguna. We are in this Magha Masa, Magha and Phalguna. So we have got more, say in a more meticulous manner division, we can say. There are 6 Rutus, and all these Rutus, they have a particular style. They have got a particular uniqueness. So that is the reason why there is a book, there is a section, there is a thing called Rutucharya. Rutucharya is one chapter in Kshemendra's text. There is one Kashmiri poet called Kshemendra. Again, coming to Kashmir, Kashmir has contributed not many poets and aestheticians and all these people. Kshemendra Laghu Kavyani is again a very famous thing. Kshemendra was one poet who had written, a 10th century poet who had written several books. So the Kshemendra has also written a book called Charu Charya. Charu Charya is, Charu means desirable. Charu Charya is activity. That is etiquette. What we call etiquette is Charu Charya. So you imagine a 10th century poet writing about Charu Charya, how a person has to conduct himself, about etiquette. So then that Charu Charya, he also writes about the Rutus. In this particular Rutu, how a person has to be, how a person has to adjust himself to the Rutu. And this Rutus also we find that all animals, they have a particular Rutu for Sringara. It is only man, it is only the human being that he has, say, Sringara in all the Rutus. That also we see here, that man is somebody who is making all Rutus, maybe Sringara friendly, we can say. So we'll see this Rutu. He first describes, for example, Vasanta Rutu. Vasanta Rutu, as we know, Vasanta Panchami, very recently that Vasanta Panchami was over. Vasanta is the time, the spring time, when the beginning of spring, where no, of course, we have not yet come to Vasanta Rutu. We are on Shishira Rutu, sorry. We are still in Shishira Rutu. That Panchami was a different Panchami. Vasanta Panchami it is called, but it is Shishira Rutu only. Vasanta Rutu comes from Chaitra Vaishakha. Then in that month, that is the spring season, what happens? That is how some people enjoy that Vasanta Rutu. He writes, Avasah kila kinchideva daita parshve vilasalasaha Karne kokila kamini kalaravaha smero latamantapaha. I'll tell in English. Avasah kila kinchideva daita parshve. Daita parshve means beloved by the side. Daita is the beloved. Parshve means by the side. The beloved is by the side. And vilasa alasaha, that is tired in love sport. So he wants to be in a place which is secluded. Kila avasah kila kinchideva, some secluded place by his side, by the side of the beloved, and also tired in love sport. And karne kokila kamini kalaravaha, and some female cuckoo, the song of female cuckoo falling into the ears, kokila kamini kalaravaha, smero latamantapaha. And there is a bower, there is a lata mantapa. In olden days, they also used to have a lata mantapa. They did not spend time in their houses only. Also used to go out, like people go out for honeymoon, etc. They used to spend time in some bowers, B-O-W-E-R, bower. Shakespeare also uses this word bower in one of his dramas. Love thoughts lie rich when canopied with bowers, he says. Long ago, when we were young, we studied that. So that love thoughts lie rich when canopied with bowers, he says. So like that, smero lata mantapa, that lata mantapa is a bower. And where the flowers are still blooming. They are not in full bloom, they are still blooming. So at that time, there is a lot of fragrance. Smero lata mantapa. Then again, goshti satkavivihi, satkavibhis samam. So then you are also having some satkavis, very good poets. Satkavi, not bad kavis who lead you into bad ideas. Satkavi, who are also, who maybe say they are not against Sringara, but at the same time, they are also teaching certain good things. Satkavi is samam. Sevyas sitamshoh karaha, that moonshine, cool moonlit night is also there. Keshanchit sukhayant yavehi hrudayam chaitre vichitra kshapaha. Chaitre kshapaha, chaitre, in this chaitra masa, Shapaha means nights. They, some fortunate people, they enjoy like this. So it is like that Markham's line, a book of verses underneath the bow, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness. So this is something like that. So he says, Chaitre vichitrat shapaha, keshanchit sukhayanti avehi hrudayam, Chaitre vichitrat shapaha. There is some Pathantaram also for this shloka. Maybe in your book, if you are having a book, you may find a slightly different words here and there. Then again, Grishma Rutu also says, Grishma Rutu is that summer, hot summer. Hot summer, now we have got ACs and whatnot. But in olden days, they didn't have ACs. So they had what are called Dhara Gruhani. The poet describes what are called Dhara Gruhani. So there was some mechanism for sprinkling water. We don't know, maybe along the wall, or I just don't know. maybe some sort of net-like thing on which some water is poured, and then from that net, the water say comes down in streams, something like a shower which we have in our bathroom. So Dhara Gruhani, some sort of water sprinkling machine, he says. The commentator says, Dhara Gruhani, Jala Yantra Veshmani. Jala Yantra. We do not know what are those Jala Yantras. Jala Yantra, some mechanism for sprinkling water. So, Achacha Chandana Rasardrataram Brugakshya. So then, who are Brugakshi? Brugakshi means the women who are whose eyes resemble the eyes of that Mrugi. Mrugi is that female deer, that doe-eyed women beauties. Then what are they having? They have applied Chandana Rasa because of heat. Because of heat, they have applied that Chandana Rasa. What type of Chandana Rasa? Acha, acha means pure. Swacha, we say. Swacha is pure. Su plus acha becomes a swacha. Acha is a Sanskrit word. We use it in Hindi also. Acha, acha, we say. Acha means swacha, that is pure. Acha, acha means purest. Purest Chandana Rasa, Ardratara Mrugakshiha. This Chandana Rasam they have applied to reduce the tapa. And here, of course, the Dhvani is, they are also Virahinis women. In those days, if you read Kavya Shastra, then there is what is called Shaityopacharam. The Naika is having that pangs of separation, and then she is having that heat of love. When she is having that sort of in that physical position, then the Sakhis, all these people, they go and apply this Chandanam, etc. There, it is called Shaityopachara. Shaitya Upachara. So that is also implied here, says the commentator. So Sardratara Mrugakshya. So they have applied some sandalwood paste on their bodies. Then Dhara Gruhani, Kusumanicha, there are flowers also. Kaumudisha, there is a beautiful moonlight. Mando Marut, there is a gentle breeze, not very fast breeze, not fast wind, but a gentle breeze. Then Shuchi Harmya Prustham. Shuchi Harmya Prustham. Harmya means that building. Harmya Prustham means that the top of that terrace. These two people, the man and woman, they are there on the terrace. Grishme Madancha Madanancha Vivardhayanti. In that Grishma Rutu, it enhances Madanancha Vivardhayanti. It enhances Madam and Madanam. Madam means in one so intoxication. Mada is intoxication. Madana is Manmatha. So this you can get intoxicated, and also Madana also, he also is active at that time. So this, it goes on like that. In fact, if we go into the words and the etymology of the words, there is some Dhvani also will be there. So I will skip some shlokas in this Sringa Rutu Varnana. I will come to one more shloka. For example, one Rutu, for example, Hemanta Rutu. Hemanta Rutu is Ashwaya Kartika Bhadrapada Pushyama, Bhadrapada and Pushya. Bhadrapada Pushyama, they are the Hemanta Rutu. Magha and Phalguna are the Shishira Rutu. This Hemanta Rutu actually is noted for Sringara. Hemanta Rutu is the season where many animals also mate, and Hemanta Rutu has a particular place in literature, all literature. You see any kavya, including Ramayana, for example, a Hemanta Rutu Varnana is there. And Hemanta Rutu is something which excites people into that Sringara mood. There, it also excites Shurpanaka. Hemanta Rutu excites Shurpanaka, who goes and falls on Rama. So that's, in fact, in that Aranyakanda, there is a beautiful description of that Hemanta Rutu. So Hemanta is now described. Hemante Dadi Dugdha Sarpi Rashana Manjishtavaso Vrataha Kashmiradrava Sandra Digdha Vapushaha Chinna Vichitrairatai. So how are these people? Dhanya Sukham Cherate, he says, final word is Dhanya Sukham Cherate. All these fortunate or blessed people, they sleep happily after enjoying all this. What do they enjoy? Dadi Dugdha Sarpi Rashana Manjishtavaso Vrataha. Dadi Dugdha Sarpi. That is Dadi, curd. Dugdha is milk, sarpi is that is what we call ghee. Then rasana. Then this is the food. That is the food they have. Then again, they also wear some nice, fine red clothes. They said, we don't know why the red clothes. The red clothes probably signifying Sringara. Maybe all orange-colored clothes. Manjishta. Manjishta is something which is orange color. Then Kashmiradrava Sandra Digdhavapushaha. Kashmiradrava is that saffron which we get from Kashmir. It is very expensive nowadays. It is in Hindi, I am told it is called Rajani Gandha. In Telugu, we call it Kumkuma Puvu. Kashmiradrava. So you know that Kashmir was very much our thing at that time. So Kashmiradrava Sandra Digdhavapushaha Sandra. So some thick paste has been made from that Kashmiradrava. Some thick paste-like thing has been made, and it is applied on the body. Then Chinnaha Vichitraihi Rataihi. Chinnaha means they are tired of Vichitraihi Rataihi means by a variety of love sports, and Vruttorustana Kamini Janakruta Shleshaha Gruhabhyantare. Then Vruttorustana Kamini Jana. Vruttam is round, Urum is a huge, Stana, round, huge breast, Kamini Jana. Kruta Ashleshaha. Ashleshaha means hugging that huge breasts of the woman. They say they hugging the beloved who have such a firm round breast. Some fortunate people, not only that, Tambuli dala Pugapurita Mukhaha. Then Tambula, they also have this Tambula. Tambula, you know, this what we call pan. In olden days, there used to be a Tambula Adhikari for all these kings. If we read this Kavyas, we find not for some prose texts also we find that in olden days there used to be a Tambula Adhikari for a king, person who was in charge of this Tambula, preparing Tambula. Probably there was also some reason, because somebody should not mix anything in that Tambula, should not mix some poison or something else in that poison. So a very, very trusted person was a Tambula Adhikari. Sometimes some aphrodisiac also has to be put there. So that Tambula Adhikari, of course, in Hyderabad also in those old Nawabi times, there used to be Tambula, which were highly expensive, only for this Nawabs. So such a variety of pans, they are available all over the country. So we are aware of it. So Tambula is also good for health, good for digestion, and also good for nice mukhamarutam, that is smell from the mouth when they are together. Tambuli dala Pugapurita Mukhaha Dhanya Sukham Cherate. Dhanya, they are the blessed people who enjoy like that. So it goes on like that. I have skipped several shlokas here, and there is a description of how the Shishira Rutu, there is all these winds are there, particularly when the onset of Grishma, just prior to the onset of Grishma. Then there are some, we also see April, etc. around that time. There are some huge, that mighty winds. So all those mighty winds, so they act like some Eve teasers. So they Keshan Akulayan, they shake off the hair of this women. Drusho Mukulayan, they make the woman close their eyes. Then Vaso Balad Akshipan, they drag away their clothes. They take off the dupatta and take off their clothes. Then Prakatayan Angeshu Kampam Janaihi. And then Prakatayan Angeshu Kampam, they also make the women shiver. So by doing all these things, Prayash Shaishiramesha, Shaishirayesha Samprati, Marutkantasu Kantayate. So it is doing all the functions which a Kanta means a lover, does. And in another shloka also it says, Vyaktam Kanta Jananam Vitacharita Bhutaha Shaichirayanti Vataha. Shaishiraha Vataha means the speedy winds in that Shishira Rutu, they are working like a Vita. Vita is actually a Eve teaser. Another shloka, Kanta is a lover. Vita is actually a Eve teaser, who is more vulgar and then who is more aggressive in, say, handling a woman. So all those things he does. Rutu Jaghana Tathas, Transayantaha, Amshukani. Even from this Jaghana Bhaga, they are drawing away the clothes. So Shishira Rutu does all these things. So that is the reason why I said, I don't know why Bhartrihari has put this 20 shlokas for Rutu Varnana. Maybe I have to think further on this. But then what all he has to say, he has told in the first 80 shlokas. In the first 80 shlokas, very strongly, very firmly, unequivocally, unambiguously, he has told what all he had to say. When this Rutu Varnana, probably various Rutus, how they are enjoyed. So having accepted karma as an inevitable or rather inescapable aspect of life, so how people enjoy it. So here also, even in this Rutu Varnana Paddhati, he has not gone beyond a limit. He has only said how good people, how dhanyas, how dhanya means blessed people, how they do enjoy. So the overall meaning is for a young person having kama with a kulastri. Yesterday also we saw that ramyam kulastri ratham, having say pleasure with the kulastri, with one's own wife, is something which need not be a very dull, drab affair. It can be a very pleasant affair also. So enjoy all that, but at the same time have some amount of maturity. So that is what it says. I think I'll complete now. Well, just to recapitulate in conclusion, what are the points which I just want to make some concluding points. Yesterday also there was a question, Bhartrihari, at what point of time he might have written this Sringara Shatakam. He could have written at any time, not of course when he was a young king, maybe later in a mature stage, or even after he took Vanaprastha, he seemed to have given up kingdom and then went on to become a Vanaprasthi. So maybe at that time also he could have written. Anytime it is possible. And again, yesterday also I said Bhartrihari, I don't think Bhartrihari was a jilted lover or a husband who was cheated by his wife, a cuckolded husband as we say. I don't think so. And nor do I agree with Koshambi, who says that he could be somebody from a proletarian class, and that is the reason why he is say criticizing all this. So not like that. He is a person who is very firmly grounded in Sanatana Dharma. That is what I understand. Because all our poets, all our traditions, you read Mahabharata, particularly Bhagavatam, if you read, you see how all these things are told in Bhagavatam also. Bhagavatam also there is a description of women in some places. So even, Rasalila, of course, it's a different thing. So this Bhartrihari is very much grounded in Sanatana Dharma, and he is, in his mind, the four Purusharthas are there. The four Purusharthas, how a person has to pursue, that objective is very much there. And he is acknowledging the very powerful presence of Kama. So that is the reason why he has devoted so many shlokas. He has devoted one whole section for Kama. It's an important thing for anybody. It's an important thing even for a spiritual seeker. Even for that much person. Spiritual seeker means not an Aishtika Brahmachari who is in Gurukula, but for somebody who is a Grahastha, who is trying to get into some Vedanta, get into listening to Gita, etc. So a person, if he reads this, not only reads, but also contemplates all these verses, they are not merely for reading, but also for contemplation. We are supposed to see the truth in these things. Then another point which I also should note is that Bhartrihari is certainly not a misogynist. When he is doing this censuring of women, the censuring applies to men also. I told you clearly, if he calls woman a bag of filth, man, it applies to a man also. Man also is a bag of filth. But Bhartrihari has he has written about women only because he was working in a sort of male-oriented world where mostly men only were pursuing these shastras, and then men only were going for vanaprastha or sannyasa. So from that point of view, we have to see that. So not only that why is this censoring done? We saw yesterday also, I said, Vishayeshu dosha drushtihi, dosha darshanam. That is, this is an exercise which is accepted in all the Vedanta texts. Vishayeshu dosha darshanam. That is, you have to see what are all the negative aspects. Is it finally going to give me happiness? Even in Gita, Gita also we see. Yattad agre sukhamiva pariname vishopamam. Some such thing is there. In the beginning, it is so nice. But in the parinama, after some time, then the same thing, it gives you misery. So what gives happiness at the end is really what matters. So that is what we see here. Then, so this dosha darshanam is an established practice in that spiritual path. Then again, we see that Bhartrihari's approach is mainly to say that we cannot suppress Kama. We cannot suppress Kama. We need not suppress Kama also. But let us channelize it in a better way and in such a way that we understand it properly. And we don't feel frustrated when we grow old, because when we see that people, when they grow old, they feel frustrated and they go to doctors, they go to various aphrodisiacs and whatnot, and then they cannot live with the idea that they have become old. So we see certain frustrated old people who cannot leave it, and then who want to have it at whatever is the cost. So that sort of frustration will not be there. Many people, they do have that frustration in old age. So that sort of thing will be avoided. In olden days, I think our people understood, because of these Subhashitas, they were part of common knowledge. Only now we are removed far away from all these things, and then because first of all the language barrier, then secondly nobody has told us. So we are removed, far away, far removed. So that is why many of our youngsters now, either even youngsters, they do not know Sringara, and old people anyway, they feel frustrated and they go to doctors, as I said. Then one point which we have to see is that these shlokas, they are for contemplation, not merely for reading. They are for contemplation. Manana also, we can say. Manana, not only the philosophical aspect, but also these things. Because this vairagya has to be practiced. Abhyasa vairagya abhyantan nirodha, says Patanjali. So it requires a lot of practice. So this vairagya has to be practiced in a slow way, but enjoying Sringara in a very healthy way and mature way, and gradually become wise. So then again, one point which I want to say is, Bhartrihari is not writing these three Shatakams for three types of people. For example, these Sringara, Niti-Shataka, Sringara Shataka, Vairagya Shataka, they are not meant for three types of people. So some worldly wise people who want to have some Niti. Then again, some people who want to enjoy Sringara, for Sringara. Then again, Vairagya, those who want to be in this Jnana class. For them, Vairagya Shataka, not like that. He is writing for the same people who are in three different phases. For example, brahmachari, at that brahmachari level, a person has to know all these worldly ways. That is the reason why even these Vedic scholars, if we see our Veda Guru, this Gurukula system, if we see Veda Patashalas, there also, after study of Vedas for about 8 years or 12 years, at the end of that, there used to be a study of Dharma Shastras. Veda Manuchya Acharyo Antevasena Manushasti. That is a sort of convocation speech which we find in Taittiriya Upanishad. Veda Manuchya Acharyo Antevasena Manushasti Satyam Vada Dharmanchara. So it goes on like that. So there only we get mantras like Madru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. All those things we find there. So there, it is told that after study of Vedas, a person has to study Dharma Shastras also, so that they know the ways of the world. But then Dharma Shastra also says what to do, what not to do. But then the way of the world is told in books like this only. For example, he says how you have to handle murkas, how you have to befriend good people, how people with self-respect behave. So different types of people have been described, so that it is a sort of general knowledge for a young man. So at that stage, it is very much needed. Then again, a person gets married. At that time, what should be his approach, or his approach to women in general, and how he has to mature. So that is why it is not meant for three different types of people. It is meant for the same people in three different stages of life. At one stage, and in the second stage is Sringara, how a person has to enjoy Sringara. So that is why there is also a saying in, not saying, there is a wonderful shloka in Sanskrit. What is that? Pratar Dyuta Prasangena, Madhyane Sri Prasangatah, Ratrau Chora Prasangena, Kalu Gachati Dhimatam. There is a shloka like that. That is, in the morning, you are supposed to read Dyutam. You are supposed to talk about Dyuta. Dyutam is, that is gambling. In the morning, you spend time with gambling, or Dyuta Prasanga, discuss gambling. Afternoon, Sri Prasangataha. Madhyane Sri Prasangataha. Sri Prasanga is something which is talking about women. Then Ratrau Chora Prasangena. When it becomes night, they talk about thieves. So what does it mean? So that means when a person is young, Prataha Juta Prasangena, Prataha means younger. When a man is young, he is supposed to read Mahabharata. Mahabharata, where the gambling is there, great Judam is there, and from where he picks up all the aspects of Dharma. Mahabharata is a text, it is an encyclopedia of Dharma. So at that time, when a person is still young, he is supposed to study that Mahabharata. And when he gets married, he is supposed to read Ramayana, where man-woman relationship is described well. How that the ideal married life, Rama and Sita, that ideal married life. So all that is described there. Not only in that, with reference to Rama and Sita, in several contexts, particularly in Balakanda, there are several episodes also. Then again, Ratrau Chora Prasangena, when a person is getting old, getting old, not when he becomes old, when he is getting old, then he has to study Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the place where you find that various, actually, Bhagavatam is a treatise of spiritual practices. Every episode is a text in itself. If you see Gajendra Moksham, it is a text in itself. If you see Prahlada Charitam, it is an independent text in itself. So every episode is so significant, and every episode gives that certain lessons in that spiritual path. So Ratrau Chora Prasangena Kalo Gachati Dhimata. So like that, the same person in three different phases, he is seeing this. So then again, finally, we can also say that this Bhartrihari's Sringara Shatakam can also be a sort of supplementary text along with texts like Vajagovindam, etc. For normal people, not for Naishtika Brahmachari. There is a term called Naishtika Brahmachari. Naishtika Brahmachari is somebody right from Gurukula, he renounces and then goes to some teacher, and then he is there. For example, if you go to ashrams like in Rishikesh or Haridwar, you find some Naishtika Brahmacharis. So they study some Vedas, they study some Vedanta, and then they want to become monks right from the beginning. So that is a different thing, not for such people, but for all of us who are in this world, who are married people, for all of us, it is very much needed. It is a sort of supplementary text along with texts like Viveka Chudamani, texts like Vajagovindam, particularly Viveka Chudamani also. So there, how exactly a person has to bring his mind under control. So that is what is very important. So these are the points which I wanted to make. And one point about rasa also I told. The rasa, yesterday also I told, the rasa in this whole text is Shanta rasa. Shanta rasa is, that is predominant rasa in as it is there in Mahabharata also. Sringara is also there as secondary. Sringara is in the secondary position in Sringara Shatakam. But even in Sringara Shatakam, Shanta rasa dominates, because the ultimate objective is to develop dispassion. Where the ultimate objective is to develop dispassion, the rasa becomes Shanta rasa, like in Mahabharata. Though Veera rasa seems to be the predominant rasa, all these Alankarikas have discussed and then said, no, Veera rasa is only secondary there. Primary is Shanta rasa, because everywhere the emphasis is on peace. Everywhere the emphasis is on peace. And whatever Dharmaraja does at various points, it is only for peace. So that rasa is, it is like that in Mahabharata. It is similar in this place also. So with these comments, I think I will stop here. If there are any doubts for further discussion, we can discuss.
Thank you very much, Aravindaji. We'll wait for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. Yes, now is the time. You can just put your question on the chat box. I think we now completed Niti-Shatakam and Sringara, and now we'll be going for Vairagyam. It may take some time before we arrange for Vairagyam session on Vairagya. But I think it is this perspective, which is a wholesome view of life. I think when people think about Vedanta, when people study Vedanta, it's kind of sometimes this wholesome perspective becomes missed. And that is why it is necessary to read, for example, Dharma Shastras, read on Kama Shastra, Artha Shastra, so that we can live a more richer life. Because for a sannyasi, of course, there is only moksha, because he has already attained vairagya. But for a grihastha, still that goal is very far. And somehow I feel that many times when teachers teach Vedanta, or students go to teachers to learn Vedanta, they somehow kind of remove the pursuit of moksha from the pursuits of other purushas. What are your views on this, Aravinda ji?
Yeah, I agree. Because those people who are Naishtika brahmacharis who go straight away to the ashramas, they can do that. But all of us cannot do that. A grihastha has some responsibilities. So we, as you said, we should have a wholesome view of the entire thing. And grihastha has some responsibilities also. Dharma Shastra also says, for the continuation of this worldly activity, grihastha has to do lot many things. On grihastha only, there is so much of burden. In olden days, of course, grihastha had a greater responsibility. Nowadays, grihasthas are not having much responsibility. But in olden days, the grihastha's responsibility was to feed the brahmachari. Their responsibility was to feed the sannyasi. So their responsibility was to do yajna. For example, every grihastha was expected to perform a yajna. Jataputraha Krishnakeshaha Yajeta, it says. Vedic is a Veda line. Jataputraha Krishnakeshaha. Jataputraha means a person, first of all, he should have a child. It means he should have a child. Then Krishnakeshaha. That means when your hair is still dark, not when you become 40s and when hair is becoming white. So when you are still young, you are supposed to perform yajna. Yajna again, what is yajna? Yajna, we have to see the meaning which is given in the Gita, very elaborate meaning for yajna. That is, yajna is any socially useful activity which is done with a sense of course, there are two ways in which yajna can be done. One is as a kamya karma and one is as a part of karma yoga. So first of all, a person may start as a kamya karma and slowly he will develop it into or transform it into a sort of karma yoga. So whatever it is, for a grihastha, there is a lot of karma. There is a lot of some assigned duties to him. So he has to do this, what is this, Pachavaha Yajna, Atithi Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, Deva Yajna, etc., Swadhyaya Yajna, etc. So, but then the Kama also cannot be ignored. Kama also has to be taken into account. If we read Bharatam also, there are certain stories where the Muni or sage, the teacher is so particular that the wife's Rutukalam should not go waste. You have written a story about that. So Kama was never ignored.
We have received one question, Aravinda ji. How does Sringara Shatakam helps in meditation? I think the clarity.
Yeah, meditation. You have to meditate means meditation can be on anything. See, meditation means I am just contemplating on the reality of a particular aspect on any particular subject. So meditate. I can meditate on mathematics. I can meditate on physics. I can meditate on my own anger. I can meditate on my own any other say plus or minus points. So meditation is here, when I say contemplation, this contemplation is on the limitations of Sringara. So we cannot be driven by our senses. We cannot be driven by our five senses, and then we have to control the senses. And what Bhartrihari says, is it real or not? Is it true or not? When I say that these shlokas are for contemplation, this contemplation, yes, you just meditate, you just contemplate on the veracity or applicability of these shlokas. Are they right? Is he telling the truth or not? Or is he telling something which is outlandish? He is not saying anything outlandish. He is actually asking us to have all normal pleasures and then slowly have a mature understanding. So this contemplation on these shlokas, on these Bhartrihari's lines, they will definitely help us in meditation on anything else also. Meditation on maybe Saguna Brahma or Guna Brahma, maybe there also it will help, because once you have controlled the mind, that is what is needed there also. When the mind is under control, then that meditation also goes properly. So that is how it helps meditation.
I think that is all. We don't have any more questions. I think one of the important things to understand is karma is such that, in my opinion, it is something, it cannot be transcended or overcome either by suppressing or by recklessly pursuing. So the only way is through a controlled, measured way of pursuit, wherein it is fulfilled, but within the confines of dharma with some restrictions in shastrically allowed by ways. Is my understanding correct?
Karma. Yes, karma. Manmatha, all said and done. He is the son of Vishnu. The very son of either Krishna or Vishnu, whatever it is, Manmatha is the son. So it is something which is a part of life. It is a part of life, and without that, there is no creation, there is no world, there is no world. So it has to be properly regulated, that's all. And for regulation of this only, all our texts and all our Dharma Shastras, all these things.
Thank you very much, Aravindaji. I think we have now covered 2/3 of Bhartrihari's very interesting work on life, and only Vairagya Shatakam is remaining, and hopefully we will be able to do it soon. And on the behalf of entire Advaita Academy and all of our viewers, I thank you again for taking time to do this session.
Thank you all. Harihi Om, that's it.
Viewers, with this, we come to a conclusion of this session. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more announcements for newer sessions that we do regularly. With this, we conclude the session. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha.